minutes to master, tools to explore. Let your imagination soar like never before. AI Tool Time with Rick McCauley, where your digital dreams come true.
One lounge. Ignition.
This is Tool Time, but before we get into that, I want to talk about what I've been doing lately. And one of the things is to reinvent and actually get a little bit more deeply into what is going to become AI TV Starship. I'm Rick McCauley, a dangerous man. I'm also Rick, the AI guy. And so to start off with, this is just a little fun I had recently, starting to figure out how do we re-identify ourselves, and perhaps maybe video is our future.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, Rick McCauley, the dangerous man.
So that was done with VIO within Krea.ai, which is an aggregator of all things. And then I started to go into a deep dive because I wanted to figure out, where should AI TV Starship go? It all started because YouTube announced all new rules as to how you get engagement. You know what they said? We want more human. We don't want AI slop. And guess what Brandon and I do? We create human baby. So we're superhuman and we're Starship guys, and so we're astronauts. So I went on a deep dive and I loaded up every single one of the episodes. So here's how you do it, just so you know. This is how you can do it at home. I went with Comet as my browser, and I said, here's my AI TV Starship channel. I opened up YouTube right there in the browser, and I said, copy and paste every AI TV Starship episode. And there were 16 at the time, right, when I did this. And I said, turn it into a return carriage after each URL that you paste into a box. So it did that. I copied and pasted that into Google NotebookLM, which I'll show you in just a minute. And what it gave me was the entire transcripts of every single word we ever said. Then I did a separate one for Tool Time, and then I produced a manifest, basically a Starship mission log or debriefing, that I turned into this. So this is the first frame of what was an outline. So here's what my prompt was. So what you're going to find out today in this Google NotebookLM deep dive is that and Tool Time, is it's going to be an episode where we talk about how you get what you just saw and the rest of the visuals I'm coming up with. So what you're doing is you're basically saying, you've got this large amount of information. And and that's all of our YouTube videos, okay? So it's grounded truth. It's not going to hallucinate. But here's what Nana Banana can do. It has the eyes and the knowledge of all things. So if it knows what a starship looks like. And if I describe it as something like, Starship Enterprise or whatever, and this invented, of course, its own thing. It knows what, Cloud Nebula looked like in outer space, etc. So it knows what I'm going for. Now, the corpus information, though, that it's working from is my information. So then it produced this. So I asked it to make 3 panels that talked about the news segment, the deep dive, and the Tool Time. There you go. So if you take a look at it, it said, and I said, bring up the 4 major topics from each of those 3 domains. All right. So I am handcrafting and directing like frickin' Steven Spielberg, again, one of my favorite directors, for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, so on the left, the great AI job shift, 2020, 30% of job workforce will be reskilled, 55 to upskill for existing roles, blah, 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 right? This is stuff right from our show. Project Immigration OS Hackathon, a 3-person, and so it didn't quite get that exactly right. The 10,000 minute mindset, his book, right there in the middle project, right? The power of prompting personas. So the different hats that different large language models, that's right from our episode log. Holy cow. And then on the right, so if you've got a business, imagine loading up everything about your business that you've ever wanted to. And we're not talking about 1 copy of Harry Potter. We're talking about 1,000 copies of the Harry Potter books. Holy cow. And images. And by the way, it didn't quite get the logo from our AI TV show. I think I should have loaded up more versions of our slide deck, and there's no place to put that in, but I can still go after I get to this point and do some more prompting. So here's just an example. So I started watching David Shapiro. So we're going to introduce you to the people that we follow. In tonight's episode, we're going to talk about David, and you can find him at YouTube at Dave Shap. You can see he did this really, really amazing deep dive in post-labor economics. So what did I do? I copied the URLs using Comet. That's the secret trick. So if I had to, and this is what I did on my phone before, I'd sit there and watch the post-labor economics episode 1, lecture 2, lecture 3, lecture 4. This guy is absolutely genius. And he's actually being recognized. He's getting 69,000 followers. This is old right here, 167,000 followers on his first lecture. He's dealing with some really big people and having great people on his shows. He's a real thinker. He's also kind of a fun guy. Now, if you're really deep into this, this is the guy you want to follow. So we're going to recommend every episode a new person to follow. This is the person for today. If you're really an intellectual and you're really interested in post-labor economics and to get the inside baseball into what's going on. So what did I do with that? So I took a look at a recent episode of what he did, and I said, where is the AI race going? And it's going to nowhere. So what did I prompt? So I loaded up all that information, and it was from a different video. It was from the group from Peter Diamandis and his What the F is Going On Moonshot show, right? And the information was about who's going to win this AI race. And Google with its deep pockets. And so I said, do it in the style of a political cartoon. Holy cow. This is just one of the slides. So you have the real information that's grounded in the truth of all of these TV shows that I just copied and pasted some URLs. Now I've got the secret sauce of doing it so fast. I did 300 of these, what I call complete decks. So what that means is I made an infographic. I made this, which is a slide deck. That's what they call it within the output of Google NotebookLM session. You load up 1,000 pieces of content. You go in there and you query what you want to focus on. And then you go over and you say, hey, make me a slide deck in the style of a political cartoon. Make sure you make all references to all of the parts of this. In fact, I'll ask in the middle chat area, tell me the top 10 or 15 things that should be on slides that I'm going to have illustrated. Then I simply put the style at the top, and it knows that it's going to talk about these things. So Google's going to win, as we came up with. And that was partly where my start point was. But why is it a problem? Okay, so let's go deeper. This is slide number 2. This is just 2 out of 15. So you got Anthropic over there with ethical glider, clean energy, clean conscious, and constitutional AI smooth sailing. You've got Grok down there with crazy rocket ship energy. You've got the Sequoia Fund, but an A16Z. I think that's something else. The AOI power meter, dangerously high. A mad dash for supremacy, sanity, and survival in the age of superintelligence. And what does Google have? Deep mind, the cure of all diseases. And then who else is coming? Wow. Okay. So this is a complete understanding of things. So here's one. The bangers, the prize, not just their trophy, but the keys to the future, right? So I had it look at who's going to be the world dominator, China or us? What's the economic prize? All things will be AI. There's the AI compute is everything. When the price comes down to zero, what does that mean? Holy cow. And then solving all humanity's problems. So that's just the beginning. This is slide number 4. Wow. So what is the problem? The regulatory gauntlet, a winding road of antitrust lawsuits, policy hurdles, success requires navigation. Wow, antitrust. So the source, antitrust remedies, United States versus Google. Holy cow. I didn't know this. In fact, I didn't pay close enough attention. But now, if you're an educator, this is a gold mine of ideas and thoughts visually explained. So you know me, I'm a visual person. So for this, I just can't. So then I said, it's part of my prompt. Let's talk about each one of the people that are ahead of the race. What's their problem? What's their solution? So they have the strength of the pole position with the most people. They have unprecedented SoftBank money, which they're now trading, and that's a house of cards. We're out of GPUs and compute powers. And so there's an apocalyptic crash going to happen. They're going to fail because you can only pour in so much money and lose so much money before you reach your AGI escape velocity and you make it worthwhile. So they're not being safe. So they're putting money in the back of their Stargate situation. All right. So Google, why is it number one? Eraser number two. It's got DeepMind. It's going to cure everything, right? It's got built-in infinite amount of fuel because it scraped all of YouTube. So it's got the TPUs, which it tensor processing units. That's how it makes its own large language model. The only hurdle, as you can see in the way, is antitrust lawsuits, which they're about to roll over. And then they've got all kinds of other things. So they got a vertical integrated stack of search engine and all this stuff. Oh my God, this is great. And then what is racer number three? It's Grok, baby. Look in the bottom left-hand corner just for a second. You can't miss her. She is a not for safe woman, let me tell you. Not safe for work woman that you can do. Now, I've gotten in there and I've made a few animated things that I won't speak about on the show because there might be, Brandon's children's watching. But, the volatility strategy is heavily tied to one individual's vision and whims. So it's kind of crazy. So you got OpenAI and Stargate and Google. It's a late to the starting line, but it has Grok 5 coming out soon, I think, in the new year, early on. And he says he's already got AGI solved and he's moving past. So then who's Anthropic? Oh, my goodness. It's a machine of loving grace. It's a lower public height. It's probably going to get bought out by somebody. But it's a constitutional AI. And if you don't know what this means, it means that it's based upon aligning itself with principles and core values that safety is first, ethical treatment, that you're using the thing. So the machine of loving grace, if you're not familiar with it, you're going to hear me talk about it all the time. Dario Amodei wrote this paper called The Machine of Loving Grace. If you don't read it, I read it every once in a while. Once a month, I read it to remind myself why we're creating this and how we're creating it ethically. What are we going to do this so we don't kill ourselves? Everybody else is off to the races, baby. And this is the only one person that's really doing the philosophy at the core is an ethical way of pursuing this. So are they too cautious to win? Well, they've got coders out of business, a kind of a side effect they probably didn't really intend. But again, even with the best intentions and with an ethical constitutional built AI. So here's a deep dive with just a bunch of images that are part of a slide deck. And all I did is say, give me a political cartoon. What is a political cartoon? Well, I know this because I teach illustration class. And I tell my students, if they're going to illustrate a very complicated political problem, go find who's talking about in the political cartoon. So I worked at the Miami Herald. We had a Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist. Jim was a political cartoonist who won a Pulitzer Prize because it's a way to visually manifest all the ideas of complicated news things. So I thought to myself, that's a style I got to use. And I got to teach educators how to use it because look what you've just learned that you probably didn't know. And if you look at these, and I'm going to be gifting these as a downloadable PDF in future episodes, all of this content. In fact, if you watch 1 hour or a whole episode, I will make sure you get access to all of everything I've ever done as my gift to you for being the fuel that makes this engine run. We want to privilege educators. We want to make sure that you understand what's going on in your world that you're responsible for. We want to make sure that we're of service to the world because that's what dangerous men and women do. Dangerous people make sure that they get in the way of people that are doing bad things to stop it, that they stand up for their rights. So you've got the Google Handbrake. So what's the problems that they have going on? They're running out of gas at OpenAI. The US versus Google is a problem for Google. So the finish line isn't a better chatbot. It's an autonomous workforce. That's what they're trying to do. And are they going to get rid of all the jobs in the meantime? So that's been a deep dive. And then it gets even further. So this is just a slide deck of 15 slides from one prompt. Holy cow. And one TV show, one YouTube show. So if I can do that, and then here's another one, right? I mean, it just keeps on giving. So there's the whole story, the power thing, the trip to AGI City, the brute force gambit. It did brute force twice, which I thought was funny. But this type is all readable. You might not be able to read it, but you can download it later as I'll make it available. So here's even an analysis of who's doing what and who's in the lead. Take a look at Google, almost 3 stars in every category. Antitrust is its only Achilles heel. Whew, okay. And then the race for AGI won't have a single victor, but will forge a new world order. Consumer favorite, OpenAI. The open standard, who knows? Google, the enterprise dominance. And maybe Google buys Anthropic, and wouldn't be that the greatest gift to all world? So it's already got ethics. It's already got, Google has DeepMind, which is Dennis Hassabis of DeepMind, who gave us protein folding, which is already getting ready to cure cancers and everything else, every malady known to human beings. They are on their way to solving it. And they're part of that same Google atmosphere, a world I want to live in. You throw in a sprinkle of Dario Amadeus and Machine of Love and Grace, that's my one I want to bet on. So I'm putting this together into a book we talked about last week. This is a one-shot prompt with Nana Banana loading up my pictures. And we talk about what human beings are. That's the illustration you see on the right. This will be a print magazine. I'm going to come out once a month with the best thoughts and everything that I'm doing. And with short little stories like this idea of the 20-watt miracle. This picture on the left is the cover of the magazine. It's going to be called Imagine a World, after my LLC, Imagine a World Productions, which is my for-profit to drive my nonprofit, Imagine a World Foundation. So Imagine a World Foundation is going to take the money from all of my gifts, and that is the gifts of this magazine, which will be distributed freely as a PDF with links to other things like videos, explainers, audio overviews, etc. Or you can buy the print magazine, and there will be QR codes that you see here to access the wealth of valuable information. That's a deep dive on any topic you want. The first episode is going to be the 20-watt miracle, and it walks through how human beings can be broken down into 3 parts. Thinking. We do a lot of thinking, metacognating. We're thinking about thinking. That's what differentiates us from other human beings. Secondly, we feel deeply. If we're artists, we feel so deeply and so profoundly. We have interactions with other people that tell the stories. This is what AI cannot do. It's not embodied. It doesn't truly feel the first kiss and the last goodbye. So this was a deep dive I've been working on for over a year now, as I want to decode what it is between us and AI. What domain is ours? It's feeling. It's feeling deeply to make music. So I use AI to amplify and give me, a beautiful songwriter with a heart of gold and 66 years of life experience, gives me the ability to make finished, quality, reproducible, on the radio quality music that I can show to someone. What am I going to do with that? I'm actually going to gift all my music to the world. I'm going to take 40% as the songwriter. I'm going to give the rest to allow musicians and singers to perform it. Whoever does the best human performance of my song will get 60% of my royalties going forward forever. So I want to be the writer of the song, the origin point. And I want the world to take the AI out, and that everything I produce will be a gift, that person will be enjoying the profits of my intellectual property. This is a paradigm I want all of you to use. If you're a great musician, but you need it to help you get a singer so that you can get a human to replace you, this is what I've started to do. And I've started a program tonight that we'll take a look at By the new year, I'm going to be launching a website that will make all my music available to you with the stems, so that what you can do is you can use it as a bed to practice. And if you release the song and you get the most number, so if 10 people decide to take the song, if some famous person comes along and grabs it and gets 100,000 listeners to the song, they get to 60% of the profits of it, because I'll have it copyrighted, but only for the words, and I'll let you have the rest. That person's going to then have the full copyright for the rest of it, and they will share for eternity the engine that drives Imagine a World Foundation. So what do we do with our 20-watt miracle, and what does that refer to? That's how much energy your brain requires, 20 watts. You've seen what the terawatts involved in a large language model. Imagine what we can do with more and less, because we can feel and we have an embodied experience. We can never let it know what a first kiss or a last goodbye is. We can never let it want or need or be part of the 7 deadly sins that we have to control and harness to drive us to what we do. The wanting is a good thing in the hands of an artist who wants to take pain and make beauty out of it. So that's my promise and my mission. A premium magazine to have premium thoughts delivered to you so you could do the same thing. So I'm doing it for educators as well. So I'm preparing for a professional development for my fellow educators to use Google Notebook in the same way that I do. Here's Amanda Bickerstaff, who I've known and talked to. She's the CEO of AI for Education. She's about 1 million educators she's educated on her platform. I was going to be part of it, but I'm just going to visit her and respect her and talk about her. Sal Khan, you might know as the CEO of Khan Academy. All this is from that prompt you just saw a second ago, as I'm going to show you. It's, can you make a beautiful render of a classroom board and on an infographic, colorful chalk, sketches of each of the greatest minds in artificial intelligence education today? Sal Khan, Jason Glitta, Thomas Thompson, Amanda Bickerstaff, etc. It didn't get all the people that I suggested, but I said, find the most amazing people. And I knew Dan Fitzpatrick. That's not a great picture of him. I'll go back and fix it before I show it to anybody. But what are they doing? They're teaching us how to evaluate, to verify, to when you use the AI, what is it going to do for us? And there's a beautiful illustration, and there's a classroom on the edges of this chalkboard. Wow. Innovators, mind and machines, the innovators shaping AI in education. And this is how they're using the AI bots. And then here's another but weird, different way to look at it. So this is to talk about propaganda in the age of AI. So I am using Russian constructivism style, shepherd fairy propaganda style, giant posters on brick walls, illustrating the visually rich, metaphorical, detailed paper posters with age from the 1940s about misinformation, propaganda in the crisis for the real, and the biological 1984 George Orwell, Nightmare of Truth and Sad Poem. I mean, you could read it, right? And then this is what I got. In fact, I even asked for it to use Rosie the Riveter. Where did this thinking about visuals come from? Spent my entire life teaching, 25 years. I know who Rosie the Riveter. In fact, I teach propaganda classes. I did a whole thesis paper about the swastika, and that it was a shape that was thousands of years old. In North America, Native Americans had the swastika on their cave walls. In India, it goes back for centuries. All over the world, it was a sacred object. In fact, in 1930, here's a weird fact for you. It was on the boots, the sneakers made for Cub Scouts of America right before the war. And then all of a sudden, it got hijacked. Anyway, so I know visuals, and I talked about Adobe's content authenticity, the champion, and the dense truth, the propaganda playbook, centralize the message, propagandize it, weaponize the state. So I loaded up all the content of this conversation, and then I did the same thing again, and I made this. This is a class that I want to produce for real. I'll go into a deep dive as we do a whole episode about humanity's final exam. So I imagine this as Harvard, Yale, MIT, and Oxford, and every institution across the world, all teaching at one time a reflection about humanity's final exam. Are we ready? Have we learned as we create a God who will be more intelligent than us? Are we gonna let it take over what we do? So I started this process, and we'll deep dive on this, but basically, this is a course outline for a 16-week course. The first 4 weeks is history. What do we need to know about it that we need to take with us? How do we get rid of propaganda? How do we get rid of all these problems that are happening in the world? So it's taught by multidisciplinary thinkers around the world. And then we look at the old game as being broken. We figure out how to fix it. So it's re-engineering. How do we do in war? Not so good. How do we do in politics? Horrible. It's getting worse. How's our planet? Not so good. So then we take a look at what social engineering has done to us, and we find ways to deconstruct what it did and see what we can do to make it better. So we're going to go deep dive in that, and the solutions basically will then be aggregated. So the third 4 weeks, it'll be a debate of the entire world coming up with solutions, and they'll be presented to the world to an AI overseer that aggregates the best ideas, makes them into policy that the UN might want to adopt, makes into policy as to how we fix social media, how we fix the United States government. So the entire world can take what we learned from our mistakes throughout all history. And as we get to this fork in the road where AI accelerates past us, wouldn't it be fantastic if every brain, every thinking person on the planet aggregated to make the solutions before it's too late? And that we approach a machine of loving grace and not an extraction economy where the rich are richer than ever before in history and the poor are not getting a fair break. And our Constitution is not being respected but defiled like some sort of Jeffrey Epstein event happened to it. So here we are, and that's my promise to you. This is an illustration, just one illustration from my book about the Frankenstein and Frank and Jack taking over his AI. So this is my Sphere event. This is from my play.